We're going to continue and find the cotangent of 3 pi over 4 and the cosecant of 5 pi over 3. So let's start with this one here. So my first step is to draw. So let's figure out where to draw it. Well, I'm going to rewrite both my 2 pi and pi with a denominator of 4. So if I write 2 pi as something with a denominator of 4, that will be 8 pi over 4. What about pi over here? That would be the same as 4 pi over 4. Both reduced down to pi. So now we can see, okay, I want to find 3 pi over 4. Well, which one is that closer to? 4 pi over 4? Or is it closer to 8 pi over 4? Well, looks like it'd be closer to 4 pi over 4, right? So let's see what it is. So I've got 3 pi over 4 equals 4 pi over 4. But let's think about it. Am I a little bit more than 4 pi? Or am I less than 4 pi? Well, I'm going to be less. I'm 3 pi over 4. That means I have to take this 4 pi over 4 and subtract a single pi over 4 to get my 3 pi. Well, 4 pi minus 1 puts me up in here. Okay, so now we know what I'm drawing. I'm going to draw my line out this way. And this little angle in here is going to be pi over 4. Right in there. Because that means this guy here is my 3 pi over 4. Okay, so I've drawn my arm. Next up, I have to make my triangle and label it. I'm going to take the end, connect it to the closest x-axis to make my triangle. And since I'm dealing with pi over 4, that means this is a 1, 1, root 2 triangle. Well, what side goes where? My 2 always goes on the hypotenuse or the radius, the r, which makes my other ones 1 and 1. So let's check those negatives, right? My x component here, that is in the negative side of the x's. So that makes my x component here negative 1. But my y component, y is positive up here. So that's good just as it is. My radius or my hypotenuse is always positive no matter what. All right, we're almost there. Now for my answer. Well, they've asked me for cotan. So if you can look back, again, this is something you will have to memorize. Cotangent is, in fact, the reciprocal of tangent, which just means it's the reverse. So instead of y over x, this is going to be x over y. Okay, and again, this is something you'll have to memorize going forward. So for me, what is my cotangent of 3 pi over 4? Well, let's take a look. Well, my x is negative 1. My y is positive 1. And, lucky for me, that simplifies to negative 1. So cotangent, the exact value of cotangent 3 pi over 4 is negative 1. Got one final one here that we're going to do together. We'll cut that off right there. Okay. Let's see what we got. Well, step 1, I draw. So let's figure out where to draw it. Well, the first thing we can look at is my denominator of 3. So let's rewrite 2 pi and pi with a denominator of 3. Well, 2 pi could be rewritten as 6 pi over 3 because that reduces down to 2 pi. Well, over here I've just got pi, so I can rewrite that as 3 pi over 3, because that would also reduce down to pi. So let's see where we are at. 5 pi over 3, which one is it closer to? Well, it is closer to 6 pi over 3. So let's take a look. 5 pi over 3 is equal to 6 pi over 3. But are we a little bit more than 6 pi or a little bit less? Well, I would argue that we are 1 less than 6. So we are going to subtract. We are 1 pi over 3 less than 6 pi. So there is my angle. And if I'm 6 pi minus, I'm living down in here. Let's draw it out. Draw it out like that, with my angle being pi over 3. Great. Step 2, I label. So let's connect the end of my triangle, or let's connect the end to the x-axis to make my triangle. And now I'm going to label this special triangle. Well, now hopefully you would recognize from our special triangles here, pi over 3 is the same as 60 degrees. Again, you will have to measure or memorize this. And if we're dealing with 60 degrees, that implies we're doing a 1, 2, root 3 triangle. Okay? So which side is which? Well, my 2's always live on my radius. Okay? And just like my little trick before, the smallest angle is opposite the smallest side length. This is the biggest angle, which is actually going to be opposite the bigger middle. So this is actually the middle between the 30, 60, 90, right? So that means the middle angle of 60 between 30 and 90, right? 30 would be here, 90 is here, 60 is the middle, and which of these is in the middle? Well, it's the root 3, because root 3 is less than 2. So middle angle gets the middle side length. So opposite of this gets the root 3, which leaves this to be 1. Okay, but let's not forget those negatives. This is my x component, but the x's are positive here, so that's good. But my y component, this is where the negative y's are. That's going to be negative root 3. Finally, we answer. Okay, what are they asking us here? They want cosecant. Well, cosecant of theta is the reciprocal of sine. So we're dealing with the y's and the r's. So this one looks like r over y. So when I put my 5 pi over 3 in there, do it here. Cosecant of 5 pi over 3 is equal to, what do we got? My r is 2, and my y is negative root 3. Well, I can't leave it like that, can I? I've got a radical or a root sign on the bottom, and that's not allowed. That is poor form. And we are adult mathematicians. We're going to learn how to do this properly and politely. Okay? So to get this radical out of the bottom, I multiply it by essentially 1. And how I figure out what number to choose, it's basically just whatever this radical is on the bottom. That's how I choose what to multiply by. Because when I do that, I've got 2 fractions. When I multiply fractions, multiply the tops, multiply the bottoms. When I multiply the top, that just becomes 2 root 3 over negative, well, root 3 times root 3 just leaves me with 3. So really, this is the proper way to state the answer, or to state the exact answer of cosecant of 5 pi over 3.